as we initiate chaos. Theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see who all keeps trying to shake us. It only awaits us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Napoleon another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All aboard the Petty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Petty Express. In a beautiful
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Petty Express. I am Mo, your conductress of all the petty, all the express. And speaking of express, we will have this on 1.25. And as it's the Petty Express, you guys know that, of course, we will be skipping over like boring stuff and everything. And, you know, whatever generally doesn't keep my attention. But we are on the Lori Vallow Daybell case. In Arizona, Lori was on trial. This is not Lori's current case, but the case before this, where she was found guilty for conspiring with her brother Alex and her husband Chad Daybell to unalive her current husband Charles Vallow. So this woman is crazy. She decided, this supreme thunder cow decided to represent herself, and I did get cow ears because they were on sale at Hobby Lobby, and Mr. Mo said I could spend $1.99. Don't be peanut butter and jealous that I got the cow horns. These are my thunder cow. I think I am going to bedazzle them because as a thunder cow, she should be bedazzled. That being said, I know that it is, as always, thank you for those of us who passed away serving our country, and for all of the first responders and, you know, military people. I know we're going to go out and maybe have a drink, hang out with family, but let's remember what today is all about first, and then get into petty, because, you know, petty is good. So we are starting out on the first witness. I do believe that this will be one of the detectives that first introduced and investigated this case. So we'll get to hear a little bit how Lori was when she was first translated into a, you know, holy being.
Sir, would you please tell the jury your name?
My name's Sergeant Erwin Wurzbicki. I work for the Chandler Police Department.
How long?
Wurzbicki? Good night in heaven. Look, I give my kids, at least my first three girls, 4-letter names that ended with A, because as a dyslexic, terrible speller, I thought having a name with 7 letters was the devil. I hated it. So I hated it so much that I carried that grudge all the way with me for 24 or 22 years and named all of my children short names so they wouldn't have to deal with that. But could you imagine being in kindergarten? Wurzbicki. Think there's a W and there could be a Q in there. This poor man. But I'm sure you have grown into a Wurzbicki, a strong, solid Wurzbicki. But I'm just thinking about in kindergarten, like, Dad, what the?
How long have you worked for the Chandler Police Department?
June will be 10 years.
Did you have any prior law enforcement experience?
10 years in Illinois.
Back on July 11th of 2019, what were your duties at that time?
I was working as a patrol officer, I believe in beat 18.
And what were your hours?
0600 to 1600.
Is that 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you. Were you dispatched to a residence at 5531 South Four Peaks Place in Chandler, Maricopa County, Arizona?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you dispatched for?
That was a shooting.
Were you the first on the scene when you arrived?
I
What
was,
did you
ma'am.
see? Okay. What were you wearing at the time?
I was in full patrol uniform.
Does the Chandler Police
How with wearing thigh highs and a fishnet shirt? Why are you asking, ma'am? That being said, what he is wearing now, the collar on this neck is currently getting ready to retire and or quit. I mean, oh, Bogart, I could imagine it was not easy, especially with the 2 O's. I would have issue because people probably say boogered, I say Bogart, but I'm sure different places would say different things, so I could imagine. That being said, this man's collar is about to quit. I mean, look, when you can pull off a bald head. That being said, the fact that his necktie isn't center is gonna bother me for reasons I don't quite understand, being a chaos demon.
Police department, back then, did they have body worn camera?
They did.
And can you describe where that was and how that works?
I believe back then I wore it on my left shoulder.
Okay. And how does it get activated?
You have to press a button and it'll turn it on.
Does it normally record audio?
Yes.
And did you have that on and did you activate it when you arrived to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
What is with the shaky
Were there other
cam?
officers on scene
Or
at some
TV.
point when you got there?
After I arrived, yes.
You're saying it was 760, so I pulled the printer to see if we could get.
What are
Poor woman thought she was calling the service desk. Yes, I've already tried to take out the printer. I don't know why it's working. And she gets into the court feed. Hello, Santiago. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one because it's bothering the ever-living snot out of me. I just want to move it a scotch over. Just a scotch. Oh, okay, I'm glad because then I was like, oh crap, what if I've been saying it wrong this entire time? Oh no, booger guard, not daggone it, school.
other officers arrived on scene?
Right after I arrived, Officer Krautheim arrived.
Can you describe to us sort of what happened as you get to the scene? How did you and Officer Krautheim handle the situation?
When I was getting out of the car, I believe the gentleman that called in was still on the phone, and we advised dispatch to tell him to come out with nothing in his hands except his phone. As he opened up or came out the front door, I started giving him commands. That was what I wanted him to do.
So you're
Oh,
talking with
holy
dispatch. Is that
Cheetos.
the same as
Bassin
911?
game?
Yeah, it's the same dispatch center.
So is the person who's talking to the 911 person then just relaying information to you?
Yes,
So you're able to tell that tell dispatch to tell the person to come out?
yes,
Did you and Officer Krautheim have someone come out?
yes.
Can you describe for us the person's,
And thank you, Kathy Michelle, for your 4 members as Hand Workers United. You know, still good that I can laugh at that because sometimes I forget what I name these things. To be fair, I forget what I'm doing in a room half a second after I get in there. So it always makes me smile when I read Hand Workers United because I always forget that I named it that. I feel ya. This long weekend was a long work end.
demeanor as they're first exiting?
He was very nonchalant, very compliant with us.
Okay. You said he still had his phone?
Yes,
Do you recall if his other hand was up?
I do not recall.
Part of come out of the house with your hands empty and you're still holding a phone. Do not compute. I mean, it's a good thing that, nothing happened, but these officers are arriving on the scene of a, force multiplier use, and you come out with something in your hands, you've got about, you got an angel on your shoulder. In theory, I don't know, Fundian, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay. Do you recall where he came out from the house?
He came out the front door.
Okay. When he exited the house, what did you guys have him do?
I gave him commands to come towards us and then have a seat on the curb.
Okay. So there's just 2 of you officers still at this point?
Yes.
What did you do at this point?
I decided to go check for anybody that was injured inside and clear the house, make sure there was nobody else in there.
Okay. What did Officer Krautheim do?
I believe he started speaking to the gentleman that we had come out the house.
So he stayed outside
Yes,
and you went into the house?
yes, ma'am.
When you talk about clearing the house, can you tell us what that means? What do you do?
We just wanted to make sure that if anyone needed aid rendered to them, we could render aid to them, or if there are any more suspects in the residence, that we could try to apprehend them.
Does that mean that you walked through the entire house?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And all that's when your body cam is on?
Yes, ma'am.
When you first entered that house, Can you describe for us what you saw when you walked in that front door?
Yeah, initially when I walked in, it opened up into like a day room or something like that. And just off to the right, I saw somebody laying on the ground, motionless.
Did you notice anything about that room?
It was empty,
So no furniture?
no furniture. Yeah, it was just an empty room.
The person that you saw to the right, male or female?
Male.
And can you describe how you saw him?
Yeah, the lack of furniture has always, again, I don't know what took Arizona so long to, label this as suspicious or worrisome or something just ain't daggone right. But the lack of furniture in the house, the fact that she took his phone to, instigate some kind of fight, it really does make the mind boggle as to why it took so long for Arizona to come forward with charges. None of this passed the sniff test from the beginning. Alex saying that Charles had hit him in the head with a bat, where, he had a very little boo-boo. The fact that Lori lured him over and, wouldn't give his phone back. All of these things make me really confused as to why it took Arizona so long. So hopefully we might get some answers here, or maybe the answers were in the hearings that I didn't watch.
Laying on the ground.
Yeah, he was laying on his back, I believe with both of his hands to his side, motionless. And then I went over to him to check his pulse.
Is that standard for police to check the welfare of any potential victims?
Yes.
When you checked the pulse, did you find one?
No.
Did you notice anything else about this victim?
Yeah, I noticed that there were 2 apparent gunshot wounds to his chest area, and there was blood pooling in like his kind of like neck collar area.
Did he appear to still be alive to you?
No.
As part of your job, both with your prior experience in Illinois and your experience here in Arizona, have you seen deceased people before?
Yes, ma'am.
All I'm thinking of is a Sixth Sense. I see dead people. I mean, again, I get where she is going with this. She's calling upon his prior, experience to be able to, for him to say, yes, I figured he was deceased, because I'm sure Lori's going to get up there and say, are you a medical doctor? Then how can you pronounce anyone, deceased? So I get where she's going with this. It's just a very clumsy sort of way to ask something like, have you seen dead people before?
Did you think this person was dead?
Yes, ma'am.
If you didn't think he was dead, are police trained to do CPR?
Yes, ma'am. We're all certified to.
Would you have done that if you believed that would have helped him?
Absolutely.
So even though a person appears deceased to you, is fire still called out to check on them?
Yes.
Why is that?
They go through their own process and procedures, and I believe they usually give the official time of death.
Okay. Did you notice anything else in that room where that male was lying?
I can't think of anything right now, no.
Do you recall seeing any projectiles on the ground near the victim?
Objection, leading.
It's a yes or no question.
I believe I did, yes.
Okay.
Holy crapola, did Lori get one right? Well, I'll be damned. That's one more than Daryl Brooks. You're winning the the Pro Se Olympics, Lori.
When you walked in the house after you saw this male on the ground, did you continue through the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that to clear it?
Yes.
And will paramedics or fire come in if you haven't cleared the house yet?
Usually no.
So they want to make sure it's okay as well?
Yes.
After you cleared the house, did you, or as you were clearing the house, did you ever locate any weapons?
Yes, I believe
And thank you for those different perspectives, Northwest. So Northwest is saying on the day they didn't have enough to disprove 3 stories of self-defense. Yes, you are right, because they had Lori, Alex, and Tylee all basically corroborating each other's story. So it's just, again, if you listen to those stories, none of that rings true, but I guess they didn't have evidence and we can't convict people with this doesn't sound right. So you are correct. So, and then by then, once they had gotten the cell extraction and, everything, then the children were missing. And of course, that is going to take precedence over this because we are worried about children. So I get it. To me, as an outsider looking in and not being a lawyer, I'm just like the rest of us who don't understand all the intricacies and then are like, why did it take so? This is purely BS. So thank you for those insights. It is right. But I guess sometimes I just jump into that, everyday person. What the hell took so long? This looked ridiculous from the jump.
We located a firearm in one of the back bedrooms.
Okay. Did you touch that in any way?
I don't recall.
Okay. After you cleared the house, did fire enter?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did fire do?
They began to try to render aid to the victim.
By the time fire came in, were other officers now on scene?
Yes.
Were you still wearing and recording with your body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the body cam, you told us that it's on your shoulder. Does it always show where you're looking?
No.
So your eyes or your head can be turned to a different direction than what the camera is actually
Yeah,
showing?
if I was turned talking to the judge, my camera would be facing the crowd.
I actually like that question because, part of the things that I think sometimes we forget about body cams is they're not at head level. They're not at, the level which we would normally see things. Just like he explained, if I look this way or look that way and my body doesn't change, it's still going to be looking at that. So these are fairly common sense things, but I think in a court, in a trial, it's, really important to remind people of these things because now as we've gotten more savvy, as we've all watched, CSI and forensic files, we're all sort of like, we're savvy. And then, we kind of forget these basic things once in a while. So I think in a court trial, while these are repetitive and kind of goodoy questions, it's still good to remind people that, yes, this is a camera attached at a shoulder. It's not going to see at head height. It's not going to be, his perspective all the time. It's going to be his shoulder's perspective.
To show you a video. And if I can have my paralegal bring that up and have him identify it.
Baker is good at this, getting all the fluff at 2 speed until they get the stuff up. And I will say, as much as I make fun of
And so if you can just look at that end.
the Karen Reed case, they have actually, at least the defense has been pretty good at having all of their exhibits ready to go, time stamped and everything. And that does, I appreciate that as a viewer of the trial, but I think jurors appreciate when lawyers are ready and, ready to go with all of their presentations because this is sort of tedious watching this. Let me get it back to 1.25.
So let me know if you recognize that as your body cam minus the audio of it.
Yeah, that's my body cam.
Oh no, he has one
Do
of
you
those
recognize
veins
that
where you
as
can
you
tell
in
if
it?
he's mad.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have previously watched that.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, Ben
Your Honor, the
Kingsley.
state will move to admit exhibit number 2, I believe. Exhibit number 2 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Two is admitted.
And Your Honor, if we may publish it.
You may.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Also right there.
So this is the house you're walking up to, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As you're talking to dispatch?
Yes.
And Northwest said Lori didn't stipulate to any exhibits coming in, so the state has to go through the full layering of foundation, which does get tedious. Yeah. I thank you so much, Northwest. I have not, like I said, I've been kind of fully on the Karen Reed crazy train, and I did want to get into this one, but holy fazolies is Karen Reed a lot.
And this is the individual that is coming out that you asked dispatch to have come out?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that Officer Krautheim in the back?
It is.
Okay, not for nothing, but I swear to holy fazolies. Okay, again, I get Alex was fully covered in the armor of Lori and Chad's cult, but if I had to use self-defense and had to come out of my house, my hands would be like this. I would not be casually like, oh yeah, I'm still talking to the cops. Yeah, no, I'll be fine. You know, when they said don't have anything in your hands, I would be like, hands, hands, hands. I wouldn't be casually just strolling out with my cell phone when the cops told me, have nothing in your hands. That is smart. What in the sepia filter
Are you
is
announcing?
this?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that standard?
Yes.
That where you checked to see if this male had a pulse?
Yes, ma'am.
That the weapon that you told us that you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you letting people know on your radio that you found a weapon?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, quick sidetrack of no evidentiary value, but lawyer on a stick's head has been done, painted correctly, and glazed. So all I need to do is put him on a stick, and modeled after Hank Brennan, lawyer on a stick, angry lawyer on a stick is going to be ready for tomorrow. Just on a tangent of what Mr. Mo has to deal with on a current and daily basis. What are you doing? I'm making a stick puppet. Why? Because the Karen Reed trial is greatly pissing me off. So that's what I have been doing on the break, getting that ready in between all sorts of parties and everything else, which Mr. Mo is again like, you know, I'm just not going to ask any questions anymore.
You told us that other officers were arriving?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what we see here happening?
Yes.
And is fire also starting to come in?
I believe they were right behind him, yes.
That you continued to clear the rest of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we see there?
It appears that the fire is rendering aid to the victim, or attempting to.
Were you walking around trying to find identification for the individual on the ground?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to ever find an identification for him?
I was not.
So no wallet laying around?
No.
No ID in his pocket?
I didn't check his pockets, but no, I don't think fire found one.
So you're kind of talking with them to let them know who this is as well?
Yes,
Because they're documenting it.
yes.
That strikes me as odd. Now, again, Mr. Mo carries a billfold that's much bigger, but he still puts it in his pocket unless I'm with him. And then I have a purse and I'll put his wallet in my purse because it's bigger. Every gentleman I've known has always had their wallet in their pocket. So it does, I wonder if it's going to come out in trial that Lori took his wallet, or perhaps he's the type that leaves it in his car since JJ was in there. I don't know. And he thought it was going to be just a quick, you know, in and out to get JJ and come back in and go do stuff. Thank you, Northwest. You are like the smartest person ever. But yeah, again, well, then with that knowledge, now it really does show, at least to me, he didn't have his wallet. JJ was in the car. He was just running in there to, get his phone back. Again, I don't get it. Lori, you had already moved on. You had picked and selected through this lifetime and many others for God knows what reason. Chad Dorkbell. Why the hell were you worried about anything about Charles other than it was a point to, get him upset with you so that Alex could come in White Knight? Just absolutely redonkulous. Well, Fundian, I hope that they can get that taken care of.
And is that the individual who came out with the phone from the house?
Yes, ma'am.
The one that dispatch and 911 told to come out?
Yes.
Thank you, Northwest. I appreciate it. I rely on the collective knowledge of the interwebs and chat because my brain used to be really good with names and thinking of things, and now my brain is not that great. So I welcome people telling me stuff when I don't know it because honest to goodness, my brain is sometimes toast. Also, Alex, just a tip for some of us who are in constant pain. When you want to play, well, I mean, I know you aren't going to ever get the chance to fake being in pain again, but if you have a really extensive head wound, most people don't go keep touching it because it hurts. It hurts like hell. So most people don't just sit there and poke at their wound. That being said, you had to kind of invent the wound, so there you go. But just a tip if you ever think you're going to fake like an injury. Most people don't poke and prod at it every 5 seconds. What?
When you
a
were
Muppet.
interacting with him there, what was his demeanor like?
He was extremely calm.
Oh yeah, get that taken care of. I know TMJ, apart from CRPS, TMJ or the something with your face, it's the jawline. That pain is indescribable. So yeah, I am glad you're getting home to get it fixed because I wouldn't wish what I have on anyone. And gosh darn it, I'm sorry you're going through what you're going through. It sounds just god awful.
It seemed unusual to you that you couldn't find one.
I wouldn't say it was unusual. I didn't know if he lived there or not, so I just kind of looked around to see if there was anything laying around.
That might be related to that individual?
I think I was just giving Officer Cohen a recap of what I already went and looked through.
I've shown defense counsel or defendant exhibits 3 and 4. I have a paralegal and goes to up to the officer to review as well.
Lori, you incredible douche. You made the state do this every time. You got translated into a being
Do you
that just
recognize
wastes our
those
time.
as sort of screenshots of 2 different views during your body cam footage?
Yes.
State will move to admit exhibits 3 and 4.
Oh no, I am sorry,
Any
photo
objection?
lady.
No objection.
3 and 4 admitted.
And if I may publish them. checking to see the pulse of this individual?
Yes, ma'am.
And did this also reflect what you had talked about of the blood pooling that had run towards his neck area?
Yes.
And I'm going to pause here and just say, look, I know there are bad cops out there. I'm not someone who backs the blue no matter who. If there are bad cops, I want them taken out. But for the first responders, for the, police officers, the EMTs, the firefighters who go in and, even seeing a gravely wounded person who is possibly beyond help and still trying to help them, give them dignity. Thank you so much for what you do, especially on this Memorial Day. I mean, I know it's not exactly the same, but it's that service spirit, that service to others first spirit that is really just so admirable. And I hope we are planting the seeds in our children for that to spring forward. Not exactly, Petty Express stuff, but definitely want to say thank you because I can't imagine the scenes they have to walk into every day. Go. Play.
Exhibit 4. Is this sort of when we first see you walk back in and we see fire working on the individual?
Yes.
Who was on the call with 911 came out, that you observed the phone with him. He was kind of holding it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any other phone in the house as you were looking around? Anything obvious laying around?
I don't recall. No, I don't believe I did.
No phone on the ground near the deceased male?
Not that I recall. No.
After you had cleared the house, allowed fire to enter, and other officers were arriving, were you tasked with going out to put up some crime scene tape?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean?
It's just tape that keeps the general public out, keeps the media out, so we have a secure scene and it doesn't get tainted by anybody or anything.
So that included both the house and some of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
Did that sort of end your involvement?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, cross-examination.
Ooh, okay. It is the entrance of the Thunder Cow. Lori, a supreme Thunder Cow. Now, Thunder Cow might be my favorite saying. There is another C word that I usually add to it. It's not cow. It's see you next Tuesday. But since I'm not 3 hours in, we will have to do a euphemism, a Thunder Cow. Let's hear what this heifer wants to say. She's Lori Vallow, lawyer woman, coming to ruin
Sergeant,
the day.
where's Vicky? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I like to get that right. Okay. You said that the individual exiting the house was nonchalant. Is that correct?
I don't know if I used those words, but he seemed very calm. Yes.
Very calm.
Yes.
Is that the same thing to you as nonchalant?
Yes,
I
it
wouldn't
means
use
the
that word,
same
so I
damn
can say he
thing.
looked very calm.
Nonchalant means that you are kind of not caring. It means the same as not bothered. Again, basically you don't care. You give no Fs. Nonchalance. He walked out like he gave no Fs. Like he didn't care that there were cops there, that he had just been involved in a domestic, unaliving. He didn't give two craps. Oh God, we're going the Sarah Boone method. I excel in thesaurusing.
Calm and unbothered.
But you said nonchalant a minute ago.
How dare you? He said nonchalant. If he says nonchalant, you must acquit. If he uses big words, you must acquit. Multisyllabic, she ain't guilty. She ain't do it. Oh God, she's going to be insufferable, isn't she? I am too sober for this testimony.
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. Does everyone act the same in a stressful situation that you've experienced? No? Are you qualified to give someone a psychological evaluation?
No.
No.
Lori, you are a psychological evaluation. How people react to you as a real life human Rorschach test. If they agree with you, they are people I don't want to go with. Like Lori, you are actually a litmus test. If you believe and love Lori and trust Lori, then you are on my, that's a no-go friendo. That's a no-go friendo. We just do not. She is to take off the thunder cow figuratively. She is asking a lot of the same questions that a regular defense attorney would do. She is just such a monstrous thunder cow that I give her no points for it. Again, the Petty Express is like watching Whose Line Is It Anyway for trials. The points are made up, the rules don't matter, and Mo says whatever the hell she's thinking right now.
You put your hand on my husband's neck for checking for a pulse, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what,
Again, this trial is going to make me morph into Will Smith more than... He is not your husband. You stepped out on him with Chad Dorkbell. The fact that she uses Charles' name as her husband, like a deranged Meghan Markle, it's just ridiculous. I'm going to start, my husband. No, he's not. You were sleeping with Chad Dorkbell. I rest my case super guilty.
what you did when you first came in?
Yes.
Did you perform CPR?
No,
No. Why not?
because it was apparent to me that he was deceased.
And that's not your protocol
To what?
to perform CPR until fire comes in?
Not if it's going to make it even worse because they had apparent gunshot wounds to the chest.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, if I start pumping on his,
Dear Lord Lori, I have a call for you. It's from Reality, and we've been missing you. And Reality would really like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Also, the fact that you're flippin' flapjack crazy.
chest, it's going to start spewing blood out of his chest even at a more rapid pace.
So when the 911 operator was telling my brother to do that, that same thing would happen?
All depends on when the call came into dispatch.
But I'm saying if you're doing CPR on someone with a gunshot wound in the chest, on the chest.
Could, yes.
Did Alex report that the 2 gunshot wounds were on the chest? Because I don't think Alex said where he shot him. Again, the dispatchers are trained to give kind of rote responses to various emergencies. And then sometimes the CPR is to keep the person's mind off the fact that unfortunately their loved one has passed away. Sometimes it is work that they give to, again, engage the other part of your mind that focuses on tasks and physicality so that you can kind of find some emotional equilibrium. That's why they, try to ask you fact-based questions to engage the logic part of your mind. That being said, that heifer, where are you? Where in the Waldo game are you going? Did your plot point Carmen Sandiego the hell out of here? Because I would like to find where in this, questioning you are going, ma'am. Because right now I'm on the Oregon Trail and I'm lost. Also, I think I could add about 4 more 90s references in there, but I'm gonna wait till next time.
Yeah. Okay. And you said something else. You said fire gives official time of death. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that time of death? Do you know?
I do not recall.
And you cleared the house before fire came in. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were looking for some kind of identification?
When
Yes.
I cleared the house,
Yes.
I was looking for other potential victims and or suspects.
Okay. But you were told on the phone that no one else was in the house but Alex. Is that correct?
Yeah, because people on dispatch never lie when cops come to their house. In fact, there wasn't an entire, video series called Cops where people would cop the cops and then there would be shenanigans after, because no one lies to the cops. Lori, I don't know. The rest of us didn't get the memo on you and your brother's, godlike abilities. So yeah, he's not going to believe you. We're not just going to trust and believe. Lori, you absolute Muppet.
I don't recall if I was told that or not.
Okay. Do you have any crime scene investigation experience?
Just my 20 years of experience as a police officer.
Okay, y'all, this dead, blank, soulless, stare into the abyss. The judge's face right now is, oh my God, my spirit animal. He's like, how in the hell did I get here? I'm the illegitimate son of Trey Gowdy and, Ron DeSantis. How did I get here? I thought I was going to be on Fox News. I thought I was going to be telling people and talking to, Megyn Kelly. And here I am talking to this blonde heifer instead of Megyn Kelly. He just sees all of his life's work and he's now dealing with Lori Vallow. All he needs is a cigarette and to be leaning on a building, and he is Ben Affleck.
And you said something about, and this is just for me to understand, you said something about the casings being to the left of him or to the right of him?
I didn't say they were to the left or to the right.
Oh, did you say west or east?
No.
Oh, sorry, that was my interpretation. Can you tell me what the weapon?
Lori, every single one of your interpretations are wrong. If you have an interpretation, just ignore it.
Was that you found?
It was a handgun.
Was it a 45?
Don't recall.
Okay. Could you tell what direction the bullet came from?
Based off the way the body was laying, I could assume it came from where his feet were at.
Near the feet? Mm-hmm. Did you see the projectile that was in the baseboard?
I don't recall if I saw that or not.
You said he did not appear alive, that you already thought that he was deceased. Is that correct, when you entered into the house?
Yes.
And what time was that?
I believe I was dispatched to the call at 8:41. So, I mean, if I was going to make a guess on what time I walked into the house, I would say I was probably at the residence within 10 minutes.
So around 8:51, perhaps?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And then when fire took over, is that the normal protocol for fire to take over and do the CPR?
Yes.
And so you didn't do CPR, but they did do the CPR. Is that correct?
Yes.
On top of the gunshot wound.
Yes.
Is that normal?
He's not an EMT, so he's not going to be able to tell you the EMT's normal procedures. Also, it is a cost benefit analysis. Yes, he has, chest gunshot wounds, but if he still had a pulse, it would be, the main point would be getting oxygen to his brain and pumping his heart for blood. So it is a cost benefit analysis. They can also use wound stuffing to try to get those gunshot wounds to stop bleeding. So yes, they would be the ones in an emergency that would want to do the CPR because they have medical knowledge and, more so than this police officer. Dear God, this woman is going to kill me on this. She is. If my sanity didn't break from Canton, this woman's going to get me.
Protocol?
I don't know what their protocol is.
Okay. I'm just asking because I wouldn't think to do that either. And
Jesus, Lori, stop flirting. This man is married and you are with Dork Bell. Being with Dork Bell was the culmination of many lifetimes served with Dork Bell. Again, call me crazy, but the fact that the one thing that breaks the cult, in my opinion, Chad Dorkbell's little fiefdom of stupid, is the fact that Lori, through lifetime and lifetime and lifetime, continued to pick Chad. Now, that's commitment right there. I mean, okay. I mean, that's like continuing to work out on a thigh master because you want to look like Susan Summers.
And then you said that you went outside to put up the crime scene tape. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So after you cleared the house, you left and went to the front yard?
Yes.
And then you were there for how long at the residence before you left?
I couldn't give you a time.
Did you stay for a while or was that the end of your job there?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago. I have no idea how long I was actually on scene for.
And who is your direct supervisor?
I believe that day was Sergeant Nocella.
I'm sorry, what was the last name?
Nocella?
Okay.
She is not asking for this man's manager. Please tell me she is not going to morph and translate from a Lori to a Karen. I would like to speak to your manager. You said not to do CPR, but the paramedics did CPR, and I was told. Oh, good Lord. This woman.
And what contact did you have with Detective Moffat that day?
I don't know if I had any with him on scene.
Okay. What about Detective England, perhaps?
I may have briefly spoke to her while I was on scene.
Okay. One time, 2 times, 3 times?
I couldn't tell you a number.
Okay. And then when you have to report to your superior before you left the scene?
He was on scene, I would imagine.
Nocella? Is that
Yes.
what you said? Okay. And then you don't know what time you left, but you arrived at approximately 8:51?
Give or take, yes.
And then did you see me arrive at the scene?
I think as I was leaving, yes.
So approximately around the time that I arrived, you were leaving.
Oh, for the love of all that is unholy. Lori, no one wants to remember you. In fact, we have one person that would like to find you because, well, he's a little confused why you're speaking in his name.
Ye keep its grove, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With 6-pack glistening sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Okay, I just had a thought, and it would be hilarious to me, not hilarious to everyone else, but hilarious to me if during the rapture, Jesus came down and just told Chad and Lori both, like, I don't know you, you don't go to school here, like total Mean Girls, like, she doesn't even go to school here. I would love that. That would comfort my heart, which is probably why I'd be left behind in the rapture, to be honest with you. But I would pay good money to see that. Like real Jesus just saying, nope, nope, never saw you. Don't know what you're talking about. Nice to meet you, though. Hope you join us one day. Bye.
Bing.
I don't know if I left when you arrived, but I was on my way out of the crime scene as far as I know.
Okay. And then you said something about 2 wounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how did you see the 2 wounds through the shirt?
Just was an observation that I made when I saw him laying on the ground.
So did you see 2 holes in the shirt?
I'm not sure exactly.
Giblets moldering. Christ on a cracker, ma'am. How do you see that he was shot? He was wearing a shirt. Lori, how have you not forgotten to breathe? How do you not simply drown on your excess saliva because no one tells you to swallow? Dear God, what is... He was wearing a shirt. How did you know he got shot? Because of the GD blood all around him and the big old holes in his chest? I mean, I'm no Columbo or Sherlock Holmes, but that would have probably cued me in.
What I saw when I was there, but I could see that there were 2 apparent gunshot wounds to his chest.
And then I'm sure, well, I won't speak for you. So when they began CPR, they did open his shirt. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
Because when you walked by, his shirt was open.
Objection to question.
Yeah, please ask questions only.
Did you discuss this case with Sergeant Nocella?
I don't believe so. I would imagine he was on scene and he got briefed by the detectives.
He got briefed by the detectives? Is that what you
In
said?
fact, I would imagine, yes.
Okay. And then have you spoken to the case agent on this case? How many times would you say?
Who's the case agent?
Oh, Detective Duncan. That's my
Detective
understanding.
Duncan? I mean, I've spoken to him many times in my career.
It's Michael Proctor. There's going to be a crossover. Somehow Proctor did this case.
regarding this case, how many times do you think you've spoken to Detective Duncan?
I couldn't even put a number on it. I would say very few.
Very few? Like, how many would you guess?
I would say maybe 5 times.
5 times. Thank you. And would that be in-person kind of discussions or?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say they were discussions, probably just in passing.
Okay.
No, it was over Signal. Please, it would have cured my soul if he said no, it was over Signal.
So how many times have you emailed with Detective Duncan concerning this case?
Objection to relevance.
Overruled, you can answer if you know.
I have no idea.
What about text messages?
No idea.
Phone calls?
And I have no,
Someone watched the Karen Reed trial. Hank Brennan Jr. over here. So, what was the conspiracy you're conspiratizing against me? And who is your supervisor?
no idea.
Okay. And your report that you wrote about this, about how long after the incident did you make your report?
I was done by the end of my work shift at 4 o'clock.
And then did you ever make any revisions to that report?
I don't believe so.
They told me to white out Crazy Heifer, and they said I couldn't use Cray Cray, but I'm a Tay Tay fan.
So you left the scene approximately sometime in the morning, and by 4 o'clock that day you had written your report. Is
Yes.
that correct? And you've never changed anything on your report?
Not that I recall, ma'am.
And the report is exactly as you left it when did you review it for this testimony today?
Yes.
And it was,
Lori, who in the hell do you think conspiratized? Do you think MI6, the CIA, let's see, whatever France has, and the KGB got together and was like, we will all frame Lori. We must stop her translation. This isn't Evangelion. We aren't waiting for, the final human, oh gosh, singularity. We're not what in the hell? No, Lori. I don't know who needs to hear this, and Lori, only you. But Lori, the world does not revolve around you. In fact, if you hadn't, done despicable things, I would never have heard of you, and I wouldn't care about you. In fact, this world, most people don't give two rats rah-rahs about you, except that you will suffer for the rest of your life.
exactly the same as when you wrote it at 4 p.m. on July 11th?
I don't know if I wrote it at 4 p.m. It was
Or
done
by 4 p.m.?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, redirect.
How will the state recover from that blistering cross? Let's see. And in honor of Memorial Day, I might have gone on a little bit of a headband spree because I thought this was cute for Dollywood. But yeah, I definitely might have gone on a headband buying spree. All right, state, take it away.
Sergeant, you were asked about the shooter's demeanor. Were you just telling us what you observed?
Yes.
What did you observe?
I just observed him very calm and collected after just shooting somebody.
And that's both seeing him come out as well as having some interaction with him on the curb?
Yes, ma'am.
When a person is been shot and you check for a pulse and you believe they are deceased, as a police officer, are you supposed to touch the body?
No.
Is the body basically a crime scene?
Yes.
Based upon your training and experience, did you believe that the victim was deceased?
Yes, ma'am.
Do fire have EKG, heart monitors, and things that they use to determine if maybe you missed a pulse?
Yes, ma'am.
When you talked about giving CPR, if an individual is now a crime scene, would giving CPR to that deceased person change the crime scene?
Yes.
And so as someone who believed the person was deceased, you did not want to modify or change the crime scene?
Correct.
You were asked about the gun. Is the gun part of the crime scene?
Yes.
Were you responsible for processing the crime scene?
No.
Why didn't you go in there and pick it up and start handling it?
because I didn't want to alter where it was laying when he got done using it.
You were asked a lot about when 911 was called, when you were dispatched. This was a few years ago,
Several, yes.
2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there something called a CAD report that documents when 911 was called, when you were dispatched, when you arrived, and even when you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Would looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when those events occurred?
Yes.
If I may have my paralegal provide me with a copy of the CAD report.
Lori's like, I have never heard of CAD. Is that something to conspiracy against me? Did you make a system to conspiracy against me and my brother and my husband? How much, Lori, just quick ballpark question. And okay, no, I'm going to have to add padding to this. This is going to be an interesting one to wear. But Lori, how many of your 5 husbands do you call your husband? I mean, does that get confusing? Because I could understand it being, you saying like, oh, my former husband, my first husband, but you've got Charles, who you're calling your husband, and Chad Dorkbell, who you wear religiously your little hair thingy of love. And you insist on being called Dorkbell? I mean, give Chad up. Even, could you just do that? I mean, no idea. Also, ma'am, the princess voice is really annoying when I know you probably sound like, well, oh gosh, Rhett Butler, if you remember from Grace Under Fire. This man is about to Hulk smash out of his shirt. Way to go on the PT, sir. Although I'm sure they have like shirts for buff people that are a little kind of stretchy or more, I don't know, you could just move a little bit. Because I have a feeling if he does that test where your mom made you put your arms, to make sure you had enough room, I don't think he's going to pass that test. Although I know he's married, but I wouldn't mind seeing him trying to get out of it for science and such. Just to make sure he's all like physically fit for the police.
You want me to?
Starting, does looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when the 911 call was received?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It was received at 8:36.
Does looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when you were dispatched?
It appears it was dispatched at 8:37.
So your memory of saying 8:50 or so was perhaps incorrect.
Yes.
Was looking at the CAD report indicate when you arrived?
8:43.
So again, that was a little earlier than your memory was.
Yes, ma'am.
And does looking at the CAD report help determine or refresh your recollection as to when you left the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It's 5:31 p.m.
As a police officer who is one of the first on scene, do you provide briefing or information to your sergeant or the detectives on scene as to what you saw, observed, and did?
If they ask me directly, yes, somebody will brief them that's on scene.
But you have to provide somebody that information to then provide to the detectives?
Yes.
Why is it done that way?
Because usually a supervisor is going to want to know what's going on and what we did, just so the detectives know exactly what they're walking into.
So for instance, if you had had to move the gun, they would want to know that, right?
Yes.
Or if you had moved the body, they would want to know that too, right?
Yes,
And if you had found any evidence, would they want to know that as well?
absolutely.
And so is that what you would have to do that day when you are speaking to sergeant or detectives?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Does any member of the jury have a question for this witness? If so, please
Ooh,
write it on
jury
the provided
questions.
form. I'm not seeing any questions come down. You can step down, sir. All right, state can call its next witness.
Thank you.
Finally, a cop I can go and not have to think, ew, but he's from Canton. Not to mention, there wasn't really any eye candy in the Karen Reed trial until we get to the ARCA guys. And then there is, but yeah, no, it's been a bit devoid of beefcake. God, his face is just my spirit animal. Like, God, I'm still here. Why? I hope this man gets to smile a lot after this trial.
If I may go get it.
Yeah, it's annoying, but at this point, we're getting through it, and it's not Hank or Lolly, so I'm kind of okay with it. Oh, for God's sake.
And where do you currently work?
I currently work at the Sandra Day O'Connor Federal Courthouse
Back in
Ooh,
2019,
Sandra Day
where were you
O'Connor.
working?
as a Chandler police officer in Chandler, Arizona.
How long did you work for the Chandler Police Department?
25 years.
When did you retire?
About
Okay, you guys know I do this. You know when I see my faces that I... Okay, so I didn't really watch Sex and the City, mostly because a bunch of women sleeping around, not my thing. But Samantha's husband, Sam, in the face, this man looks exactly like Samantha's husband. For the three of you who got that, you're welcome.
Work for the Chandler Police Department.
25 years.
When did you retire?
About 3 years ago, February.
When you were working there in July of 2019, what were your duties at that time?
I was a patrol officer. I was responding to calls for service.
Okay. And do you recall what your shift was at that time?
It was a day shift. I think I start my shift at 6 and end at 4.
Were you working patrol for Chandler Police Department on July 11th of 2019 at about 8:36 a.m.?
I was.
Were you dispatched to 5531 South Four Peaks Place in Chandler, Maricopa County, Arizona?
Yes.
What were you dispatched for?
A shooting that had just occurred.
Based upon the information that was, well, let me ask you this. When you are arriving to a scene,
All right.
do you get
These
information
are-
relayed to you about this call?
I do.
Why is
We are going straight to the Lori cross because we're going to get a lot of the same stuff. We are going to get them talking to that, but I want to see what Lori talks about because let's be honest, that's why we're here. We are here for the Lori Vallow attorney at law that we can own. Well, we don't even have to pay tickets to watch this train wreck. This tie is reminding, this entire suit is reminding me of avocado gold or avocado green, just the 70s. I want Formica, I want shag carpet, and I want the Brady Bunch on right now. That's the only thing that can justify this avocado green suit. Good morning, Tammy. All right, for those of you who are joining in or new to this, Lori Vallow Daybell or Daybell, I call her Dorkbell because have you seen Chad? Just, there you got that. Like, look, it just, the jokes write themselves. She is on trial for the conspiracy to unalive and unaliving her late husband, Charles Vallow. That being said, we are kind of skipping through, as this is a fun day, to Lori's cross because, good Lord, we need all the help with this one. Let's put our Thunder Cow headband back on and listen to this absolute Thunder Cow attempt to create a coherent thought. Just all the crazy. Flip
Can
those
you
papers.
pronounce your last name for me? I don't want to get it wrong.
Krautheim.
Krautheim.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Officer Krautheim.
At the
Correct?
time.
Wait, we're gonna baconate because even the closed captions couldn't get this poor man's name right.
Krautheim.
Krautheim.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Officer Krautheim.
At the
Correct?
time, yes.
At the time. Okay.
It is a trinity of what the hell with closed captions. Krautheim spelled 3 different ways.
Can you pronounce your last
Closed
name for me? I don't want
caption
to get it
is
wrong.
my hero.
Krautheim.
Krautheim.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Officer Krautheim.
At the
Correct?
time, yes.
At the time. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You mentioned about Alex being calm when he exited the house. Is that correct?
Yes,
And then you were advised that he had told the 911 operator that he composed himself and then called 911. Is that correct?
I don't remember the compose himself, but I think he did.
But you stated in your report that Alex was very calm throughout the entire time talking with him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
Not for nothing, Wolfram, but that's going to be my Nordic death metal name. Crothim. Look, it's probably a curse word in Icelandic, but you know, that's that's a nightmare that only Chad has to see now. Look, some of us need to take a bath, need to figure out our timeline, need to go through our ex-husband's phone. I mean, there are things she needed to do.
the scene itself, was it chaotic?
No,
Were people running around screaming?
no,
Were people running in and out of the front door?
no.
So were the officers calm?
It was just me and another officer.
Were you calm?
Yes,
Was the other officer calm?
he was.
Were the detectives calm?
They were.
Well, I'm glad that we all had copacetic officers. You know, I do worry about the stress level of officers a lot. So where are we go? Where in the nebulous, foggy Narnia are we going with this, ma'am? I mean, I would just like a map of your crazy. I don't care if it's a long hike like Lord of the Rings. I just would like to know if we're going to Mordor or, you know, the Great Valley. I mean, I feel a little bit like Littlefoot over here. I am completely confused and I have no idea where you are. So I'm going to need you to tell me where and how to get to the Great Valley because I'm confused. If you could just give me Post-it notes or a Hansel and Gretel like breadcrumb trail as to what in the nebulous foggy F you're talking about.
Was the fire department calm?
I didn't interact with him very much. I couldn't answer that.
Your friend The Wiz was calm?
Yes, the other.
Everyone was we've established the combination of the police force. Can we continue?
Officer, yes.
So when I arrived at the scene, things were pretty calm.
Is that a question?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you were calm.
No, I'm saying when I arrived at the scene itself was calm environment.
It was.
Okay. So if I would have been hysterical, that would have been more out of character than if I was calm when everybody else was being calm. Isn't that correct?
Speculation.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I now understand where she was trying to go on this because like all Great Valley journeys, you finally understand where you're going when you get there. So what she is trying to do is trying to again state that while her brother and her were both calm, it wasn't out of character. It was simply that the entire scene was calm. And thank you, JKD Buck, our newest mod, and for your super chat. Have a meaningful Memorial Day. You are right. Yes, JKD Buck, all of you, even if you're just hanging out like an Indar cat like me, make sure that you do take a moment to, you know, in your mind, whether you believe in God, Jesus, the spaghetti monster, or the universe, thank people that have served and lost for us and their family. And thank you, JKD Buck, for hanging out with us for a while. Hells yes, I'm going to need a giant-sized thing of Mike and Ike's. I just realized that the Karen Reed's starting again tomorrow. I'm going to need all the Monster Energy drinks and at least 15 boxes of Mike and Ike's.
Sustain.
So you said that Alex was calm and was holding a towel in his right hand and holding it up to the back of his head. Is that correct?
He did.
And you said Oh, sorry, it's in my other note. Just now that his
One job, Lori. You had one job. You're over here being your own third-party intervener. You think you would have taken coherent notes. Now, not gonna lie, a lot of my notes are confusing jumbles of ad hominem attacks and real facts. So I get, but if I were a lawyer or pretending I was lawyer, I would, possibly keep my notes to, a minimum or actually on topic. Except for this suit. This suit is annoying me greatly.
head had a 1-inch laceration. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's like a cut down his head. 1
It
inch?
is.
Okay. And you said a small knot.
I did.
Is that correct? Okay. And that it was bleeding a little. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And so a small knot is what you declared it, but would you not call it a goose egg?
tomato, tomato.
Okay. Did Alex,
If the contusion doesn't fit, you must acquit. No, it's a hematuba. As we learned in the Karen Reed trial, it is a hematuba. I will not be dissuaded from that. It will forevermore be in the Church of Mo, a hematuba.
ask for medical treatment?
He did not.
How many times did you ask him if he needed medical treatment?
I think 3 times.
Okay. And there was EMS right there next to you?
Yes,
So an EMS person could have just come over and checked the back of his head pretty easily, yeah?
yes,
Yes. But no one asked anybody to do that.
Not if he refused treatment. If you treat someone against their will, that's kind of called assault. And Miss Disorder says on May 4th, we have 2 minutes of silence throughout the entire land to mark everyone who died in World War II. World War II and World War I. I believe World War I was a meat grinder and some towns were completely demolished. I mean, not demolished by the war, but their entire, youth, their young men, all of them went to war and passed away. It was a meat grinder. If the trenches didn't get you with trench foot and all the diseases, then, trying to move. So it really did. I mean, I've never been to Europe or the UK, but when I look at different documentaries about World War I and all the towns that were decimated, that basically had their entire, future generations lost, it's incredible the amount of loss that has happened. And hopefully we can stop fighting with each other, but, at some point, maybe we could people are just going to fight with each other and we don't get involved. I don't know. I don't know the answers. I'm wearing cow ears.
correct.
Okay. And he didn't seem disoriented to you at all?
No,
So you didn't think he needed any kind of medical attention at the time?
no,
And he didn't ask for any at the time?
correct, he did not.
And you didn't supply any at the time?
Correct.
Okay. But EMT was right there, next to you.
Look, I know you love your brother in a way that is confusing and grotesque to most of us, but if he refused service, you are not going to get service. The ambulance people aren't going to detain you to give you service. And Northwest said, Memorial Day, a day in which those who died in active military service are remembered, traditionally observed on May 30th, but now officially observed on the last Monday in May. So yeah, it is for, there is, if you are feeling at all patriotic and want to take a moment, Trace Adkins, even if you're not a fan of country, he has a great song called Arlington that I think is, he does it on YouTube with, I think, the military choir. It might be the Marine choir. I don't know, but it is incredibly moving and it is incredibly, I think, a beautiful song. And if you would rather spend your moment of silence watching that, I think it is just a great song. There are a lot of families who lost their sons, from different things. There are friends that have been lost. And, it is good that we remember sacrifices.
Yes.
Okay. That's another thing.
I need to do a screen grab of the many faces of, oh my God, why am I here, of the judge. Someday I will be smart enough to do that.
That you said calm and nonchalant. Is that correct? You
Yes.
stated that Alex was nonchalant. What is your definition of nonchalant?
That's it. I'm going to have to make a nonchalant stinger. What is nonchalant? Well, I am nonchalant. Dun, dun, dun. What is... Lori, I don't know why you are on the nonchalant train. It's simply another word to say calm, unbothered, stoic, not really giving a damn. Basically, it means you lack care. You are completely at ease. For the love of all that is... Ooh, I cannot go ahead. Let's get back to chalants.
Kind of like how I am now. I don't have a lot of emotion. I'm not afraid. Just nonchalant.
Oh my God, I figured out why she's obsessed with nonchalant. She thinks it's another word for enchiladas. Oh, good Lord. I love them. I saw them. And Mr. Mo is like, if $1.99 will make you happy, you're a cheap date. And I like that about you.
Is that your typical demeanor?
I guess it depends on the situation and the circumstance.
I mean, this can be a stressful situation, right? So it's your demeanor right now.
It is.
Testifying in court can be a stressful situation.
I guess
He's
it
only
can be.
done it a gajillion times.
So if that was Alex's normal demeanor, then it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for him to be nonchalant.
Objection, speculation.
I have a feeling Rachel D, I'm beginning to want to have that conversation that they had in Mean Girls. I know you can be overwhelmed and or maybe that was Clueless, but can you just be whelmed? I'm like, I know you can be nonchalant and chalant. Can you be I can't. This when I'm having to remember Clueless, like I know you can be overwhelmed and underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed? When you're making me think of that quote, Lori, you have gotten way off ridiculous land. Can we please, step off the grammar sideline and please go back to whatever in the nebulous hell you were going to say?
I'll allow it. I'll allow the answer. He doesn't know the demeanor, but you can answer.
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, so if Alex's normal demeanor was like your normal demeanor, and even in a stressful situation, if he was nonchalant, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for him to be nonchalant again, because that's his normal demeanor. Correct?
Objection to compound question.
I'll sustain that objection.
You mentioned that I had
What the hell? We did not have a Bev sigh in the middle of this. Mr. Jackson, I've told you many times, hold the comments. Oh, good Lord. We had a Bev sigh. Oh, good Lord.
parked across the street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did I have to park across the street?
I don't know.
So we saw on the body cam, right, that there was a huge fire truck, correct?
Yes.
There was police cars, correct?
Yes.
There was a CSI van, correct?
She was parked somewhere. I don't know where.
Next to the house, kind of.
Is this bitch really going on a tangent because she wasn't allowed to park in her damn driveway after her house became a crime scene? Is this the point of indignation we are going to? Lori is pissed off she couldn't park in her front driveway when, her husband lay dead in her house. Tiny baby Jesus, I need to get through this testimony without becoming a day drinker. Please help me.
I guess, south of the house. So there was nowhere to park except for across the street. Is that correct?
No,
That's not correct?
that is not correct.
Where else could I have parked?
Well, the street's long. You could have parked anywhere along the street. You could have parked on the other street. That's where I parked. Or you could park on the other side of the street, south of the home, where there was plenty of parking. So there was other options.
This is a murder trial, right? And she's like, but excuse me, are you the supervisor? Because I have been holding on to this. Look, I don't know who I have to make a complaint to, but when, I was trying to go home in the stolen rental car I took from my dead husband, they would not let me park in my driveway. And I pay my taxes. I pay your salary. You work for me. I mean, are we really having the typical cop/body cam argument in court? Yes, we are. Why am I asking a question? Well, let's see how this works out for her. I mean,
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
To park.
But I parked as close as I could to the scene so that I could come talk to you. Is that correct?
Speculation, testifying.
Sustained.
So we can agree that there were lots of police vehicles blocking the house. Is that correct?
hey, Lori, you know how to not have police vehicles in front of your house? It's called you don't, lure your ex-husband in because you're in love with a dork who has a doomsday complex. There's a lot of easy ways that your house isn't covered by police. It's mostly not criming and trying to make your own cult. How does one avoid this?
Emergency vehicles.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, emergency. Police, fire, CSI, all were there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But even though all of those things were there, the scene was not chaotic. Is that correct?
Correct.
It was a very calm scene that day.
Lori, what you are failing to realize is this man sees all the crap spackle in the world. This man goes into active scenes, to DV, to, freaking Sharknadoes. Hell, I don't know what you deal with in Arizona. Aggressively friendly hippies who are trying to give you crystals. I don't know. I don't live in Arizona. There's a lot of reasons I don't live there. Mostly it's too hot. I don't care if it's a dry heat. So is an oven. I'm not getting in one of them. That being said, I know lovely people live in Arizona. I just don't get it. It's not my jam, but it's plenty of people's jams. That being said, yes, to him, from his perspectives, having seen many scenes, this was a calm scene. Now, from your perspective, because you don't see a lot of these scenes, all of this looks chaotic, but it is organized chaos. It is organized. Everyone has a job. So to him, it wasn't chaotic, and you're not going to get him to say that. You giant, weird, crazy thunder cow.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you know how hot it was that day?
No, but it was hot.
It was hot.
Come on, you can do it.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. What was the extent of your duties that day? I know that you had arrived on the scene. You said dispatched was about 8:39 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then it took you about 4 to 5 minutes to arrive.
Yes.
And then you were the first on the scene.
No.
No. Who was the first on the scene? Do you know?
Wiz was.
Oh, that's correct. And then who arrived? How long after he?
Okay, I know there has to be a story behind his name being Wiz, and now I would like to detour from the trial. I would like Lori to ask him how he got that nickname, because I want to know now. Because there has to be either a urinal or some kind of cheese whiz involved, and I would like to know. See, we never learn the fun stuff in trials. I think we should be allowed to take detours when you hear something redonkulous and, ask, even if it's not, cromulent to the trial. God, I love Baker. That word. For some people have things with like moist and I don't, but cromulent seems to, sometimes I like it and sometimes I'm just like, that sounds like a crouton that's gone bad. The crouton was cromulent. It sounds like when you get that really burnt crouton in like the bottom of the crouton bags. I don't know. It made sense to me. Anywho, let's continue.
He arrived, did you arrive? Do you know?
Oh, I was like seconds,
Okay.
maybe 10, 15 seconds.
He was right before Wiz,
And
or
then
right
you were
after
right
Wiz.
there when Alex came out of the house,
I was.
and you were with him basically that whole time till he
Yes.
got into the police car?
Yes,
And then did you drive him to the station?
I did.
So you were in the car with him the whole time?
Yes.
So you really never didn't have eyes on Alex from the time he came out of the house till the time he got to the police station?
Correct.
Okay. And did you have a conversation on the way to the police station?
I did.
You did.
Oh, Alex, you moldering butt monkey. You're not supposed to talk to the cops. That being said, considering the evil of your conspiracy with your sister, I'm kind of okay that you totally didn't take and exercise your Fifth Amendment.
And that's the
He's a
second
real
body cam
Tom
we didn't watch,
Sawyer.
is that correct? That has your name on it?
Yeah, there's another body worn camera we haven't seen.
Right, from the police car, I'm saying.
Yes, me driving.
You driving, but it comes from the car, not from the shoulder body cam, is that correct?
No, it comes from my body
Oh, it was
worn
still
camera.
on your shoulder?
Yes.
Okay. And in that, did you have a conversation with Alex on the way to the police station?
Yes.
Objection asked and answered.
And did he express,
Hold on. When
Sorry.
there's an objection.
I'm sorry.
Wait for the ruling. I'll sustain the objection, but the answer will stand nonetheless. Go ahead. Next question.
This judge is already so over it. I love this. This judge is my. He's like, this judge is a judge from Clerks. If the Clerks character was a judge, that's who he'd be. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. I was supposed to be working somewhere else. Jay and Silent Bob are going to walk in any moment now.
did he express to you that he kind of fell out of it because he hit?
Say,
Sustain.
That makes sense. She's about as useful as tits on a bull. Yes, she
When
is.
did you make your report about the incident on July 11th, 2019?
I think what was the end of my workday that day, but I stopped and started it numerous times throughout the day.
I have always said butt monkey, like you're just being a. I used to tell my boys they were being a. That being said, I just pictured one of those baboons with the red behind. If it has a different meaning, I don't know. I just used to, like when you're acting a fool and being crazy.
So did you finish it that day or it still took a few days?
No, I finished at the end of my shift.
By the end of your shift, which was what?
What does she think these reports are full of? It's not like advanced calculus. They're giving a basic synopsis of what happened. Generally, they try to be as detailed as possible, but it's not like they're going in and like CSI, like enhance. Oh God. Probably, not gonna lie.
What time that day?
4 o'clock.
Okay. And did you make any revisions to that later on?
No.
Yes, I did. Right after I planted the bloody glove and I walked around in your Ferragamo shoes or whatever those damn shoes were for O.J. Simpson. I don't remember. But Lori, no one conspiracized against you. No one gives really that much care to you other than you. I know it's kind of hard to learn this in the world, but no one gives to what you do unless you take children out of this world. You would have been another lame, nutty person had you not unalived anyone. But no, the entire world did not get together to, destroy Chad Dorkbell's plan of the apocalypse.
So this is the only report that you made in regards to the day of July 11th, 2019?
It is.
You stated that there was red liquid on the rag towel that appeared to be blood. Did you think it was something other than blood?
Well, I had no way to test it, so I have to.
No, Lori, I know you're pretending to be a lawyer, but here's how it goes. See, they can't assume it's blood. They have to do, a presumptive test. If that presumptive test comes back, then they will generally swab it. But there are a lot of things that can mimic or look like blood. That's why they say it's a reddish brown stain until they verify, because in court, it kind of matters if something is actually blood or ketchup. You ridiculous. Did you watch any CSI? Did you watch any trial before you decided to be Lori Quinn, legal woman in the pioneer days? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Look, I know you are washed in the blood and all the saved and everything like that, but I think that, God expects you to have some sort of level of competency if you're going to be a lawyer, but that's just me. Lori is defending herself. Her brother Alex Cox passed away before he could be charged. Now there was scuttlebutt around, when he died, was right in the thick of, if I remember correctly, it was right as Chad and the bodies of the children were found. So I believe very shortly right after that, look, it's been a couple of years, y'all. He had passed away. Now, it was natural causes, he had blood clots and pulmonary embolism. It was a little bit weird, his marriage to this woman, Zafina, something with a Z, very shortly after having met her. Basically, for Lori in this case, and if you were a defense attorney, Northwest is right. So no, Tammy was exhumed the next day. Alex died in December 2019. Zulema. Thank you. I knew it was with a Z. I'm proud of myself. So that being said, if you were a defense attorney, you would want to focus on the innocence of all of them. You would really want to play up that, Alex was trying to defend his sister. So essentially trying to exonerate Alex is exonerating Lori. That being said, you could probably attempt to do that if you were a competent lawyer. Lori is, Lori, so that's just not going to happen. But a competent defense attorney, as a non-lawyer lawyerologist, would probably be, again, focusing on Alex is innocent, Lori is innocent, Tylee back them up. That being said, let's go back to where in Lori's world are we going? I don't remember who, I always just called her Storm. So I don't know.
Articulate that way.
So he was bleeding from the back of the head
He was.
on the right-hand side.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And then was it you?
It was Bruno Malley. Okay, Lorenzo shoes. All right. I knew it was some ridiculous brand that I'll never buy. That being said, when I buy stuff from Target, I feel all fancy, or from, Old Navy. On that note, with our big closet cleanouts, I am going to be shopping at Goodwill and the thrift stores to get some shirts that actually fit. Okay. Total tangent. Let me do I have it somewhere. but I am finding that my favorite shirts and other things no longer fit. So I have like a couple shirts though that I want to keep because I'm like, they're comfy. And Mr. Mo is like, you could find new comfy shirts. I'm like, but I love my old comfy shirts. Aren't you comforted by the fact that even if it doesn't fit me and it doesn't look great on me, I still want to keep it because it's comfy and I love it? Mr. Mo was not impressed with my romantic declaration that he was like a comfy shirt that I wouldn't throw to Goodwill. To me, it was a declaration of supreme love.
On the body cam, who briefed the detectives, Detective Moffat and Detective Inkland, in the front yard?
Yes, I made contact with them, yes.
And then you had told them basically what Alex had conveyed to you, what happened?
Yes.
And then what do they do with that information? Do they just put it into a report?
I don't know. You'll
How
have to
does
ask
he
them.
know what they
Okay.
do with the information?
So your report goes to who after you're finished with it?
I sent it to my supervisor.
And who was that at the time? Do you remember?
That was Bill Nacella.
Oh, the same one?
Sergeant,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And then, did you speak to the case agent on this case regarding this incident on July 11th?
I did at the time. That
Okay, this man's face, I know this is how his face is just made, but the way his eyes are open, I'm always ready for him to either be shocked or confused by something. I'm like, I keep wanting him, like, he looks like he's gonna get. I was starting, before I got hurt, I was starting garment making, so maybe I will get back into that. But Mr. Mo is kind of on the, if we don't use it, we don't need it, and it's a future project, maybe consider parting with it. I'll just hide it. I'll hide my shirts I want.
That's when I walked up to them at the front door area.
Okay. And was Detective Moffat the case agent at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And now it's Detective Duncan, as far as you know?
As far as I know, I don't know for sure, but that's what I've been told.
Okay. And how long do you think that you were at the residence? What was the whole time before you guys left to go to the police station? Do you remember? Do you recall?
No, I do not. It would be in my CAD history on when I transported him from the home to the PD, so I'd have to look at that, and I don't know, 40 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes, something like that.
Now, someone on the video, and I don't remember who it was, but put a phone into a evidence bag. Was that you?
I don't recollect that.
Okay. And then got into the car. Did someone ride with you to the police station from the residence? Just you and Alex were in the car?
Yes,
No other officers?
correct.
But before you got into the car, an officer came over and took his phone and put it in an evidence bag?
You're asking me for recollection. I don't remember that. It's probable because we usually try to bring their property to the area where we're going to, so it's probable.
I just didn't see it in your report, but I saw it on the body cam, so I wondered if you knew. Okay.
I'm going to object to the defendant testifying.
All right. Please only ask questions.
Sure.
When you make statements about what you saw or heard, that's testimony.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Come on, Lori, you can do it.
So it says in your report that you were asked by Detective Moffat to transport Alex to the police station not handcuffed. Is that correct?
Yes,
And to the downstairs interview room. I'm assuming that's at Chandler Police Department,
it is.
correct? Okay. And it was just the two of you in the car on the ride there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then, when you arrived at the police station, what happened next?
walked him up to the room, had him sit down, or I think brought him some water, I think. And the detective was literally behind me. It wasn't very long before he walked into the room.
So then Detective Moffett took over and you were excused?
Yes,
Okay. And then was that the extent of your duty
it was.
at that time? And did you leave the police station after that?
Yes.
Did you stay and observe the interview?
No.
Lori, let me explain this. You have patrol officers. They go find the criminals and or the witnesses, and they're generally the one that retrieve and bring them in. Then you have a whole different group of people at the police station who are detectives who talk and solve things. The two are very, intertwined with each other, but they have very distinct roles. No, he doesn't stay and observe.
So Detective
Yes.
Moffett took over for you and you departed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. You said when you spoke to Alex that he was cooperative. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it possible he could have been in shock?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Bless her heart, she's trying so hard. And if she wasn't a murderess, I'd root for her.
From your observation, how long did the cut on Alex's head bleed? I mean, you were with him for that 40 minutes, and how long do you think it was bleeding?
Well, I couldn't answer that because I wasn't standing in the back of his head when I first made contact with him. So to be honest with you, I don't know when it started.
He's like, ma'am, I didn't stay there and watch his boo-boo bleed. I have things to do. There are, in fact, more crimes happening in Arizona, so I had to go, stop crime.
So I don't have the minutes.
Did it appear to be bleeding when he exited the house, or no?
I didn't look at the back of his head right away when he exited the house.
When was the first time that you looked at it? About how long after he exited?
I can't answer time-wise, but it was during the time I had him seated at the sidewalk when I was talking to him.
Okay. Before he moved over or after?
Oh, after he moved over.
Okay. Did you ever enter into the house?
No.
You were just there in the front yard
Yes.
the whole time? Okay.
Were you ever near 32 Fairview or 34 Fairview? What about snow? Lori, you're not asking about snow. And to correct any leading question, just ask what, if any. Learn from Lolly. Be the Lolly. Look, if Mr. Moe personally had brought this suit over, it is so reminiscent of, look, I nursed a lot of my children, and let me just say, the end product of nursing, towards the back end. So it is not a color that I find very comforting or would ever endorse anyone getting a suit in. I think he's doing a good job pulling it off, but it is the color that reminds me of babies and diapers. So not my favorite color. And whoever sold him this deserves a better commission.
When you gave your When you talked to the two detectives in the front yard and gave them your synopsis of what had happened, you said they got into a domestic fight consisted.
Objection.
I'm sorry,
I'm going to sustain the objection.
what was the legal objection?
Hearsay.
Hearsay.
Oh, I was just reading his report. Okay.
Then objection no.
Okay, Daryl Brooks, for the love of all that is holy. Oh my God. Did you watch any Matlock? My cousin Vinny will explain things much easier than this. For the love of Cheetos, ma'am, you cannot read what he said to someone else. For the love of all that is holy. This is going to be Daryl Brooks 2.0. But your report said.
No question.
Please
Objection.
ask your next question.
Objection. Objection station. What's your function? Shutting up, Lori,
You said in
when
your
she's
report
doing
that
a bad
at
job.
one point Alex's niece grabbed the bat.
Objection.
Hold on.
Hearsay.
That's
Improper
hearsay.
question.
Okay, you can't ask hearsay. Please ask your next question.
Lori, would you like a phone a friend option? Hell, even Legally Blonde can explain some things to you. Oh, I'll have to read it. It's baby poo green. It is baby poo green. I'm sorry. It keeps distracting me. It's going to haunt me in my nightmares. He's pulling it off, so I'm not making fun of you, but whoever sold this unfavorable color to this man deserves a raise and possibly to become the president of the company. Because I bet that suit sat there for like years and years until some person decided to come in and buy it. Come on, Lori, you can do it. Put a little... Well...
Did Alex tell you that he got hit in the head with the bat?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay prior ruling.
Yeah, it's sustained. You can't ask questions of what Alex said.
Lori's like, it's devastating to my case, Your Honor.
So you observed that he had this bump on his head, but you didn't know how he got it. Is that correct?
No. That's not correct.
You did know how he got it. Is that correct?
I was told how he got it, which is different than me knowing how he got it, if that makes any sense.
Correct. You did not witness.
Police officer, you seem like a sweet person, but we do not help a thunder cow. We let a thunder cow struggle in her own ignorance, wallowing around in it like a pile of poo in a pig. We do not help thunder cows because thunder cows will not learn. Lori's a thunder cow. I understand you're trying to help her, but don't. Look, it's like we tell you, don't feed the geese bread. Don't help a thunder cow when she's being a see you next Tuesday.
Is what you're saying.
Correct.
But you knew that he had an injury to the back of his head on the right side.
I did.
Correct. Okay. And how did you obtain that information?
Your Honor.
You can't answer if it calls for hearsay.
This is painful. Come on, Lori, you can do it. Put a little, well, translate it into it.
Today, Junior?
Did you observe the next door neighbor come out in her nightgown to speak to me?
I did.
And then there was another neighbor on the other side that came out that you told him to go back into his house? Is that
I don't know if he was a
correct?
neighbor, but it was just some guy. Yeah, I assumed he was a neighbor.
Right. So they had blocked off the street so the neighbors couldn't really exit the neighborhood. They couldn't go to school or work or.
We have circled back to parking. Come on, Lori, just round it up. You have circled on back. You've gone from parking to parking. And ashes to ashes, we all fall down. For the get leave the parking alone. Yes, when there is something that happens. Look, I live in a neighborhood that is fully occupied by octogenarians. Okay, it is like when the newsletter for the neighborhood comes out, it is like the who's of obits. Okay, so I get that when we have a medical emergency, there's going to be fire trucks and different things, and that my path of egress out of my neighborhood might be disturbed. Do you know what normal people think? They think, gosh, I hope everything's okay over there and I'll take a different way. They don't, wait until the trial and then say, did you understand that you really complicated my life by not letting me park in my murder scene? And my neighbors were affected too. I just don't think of myself. My neighbors were greatly inconvenienced. Ma'am, man died. More worrisome than, people having to take a longer route out of the neighborhood. That's how normal people think. I know you are just like, but my parking. Not without my parking spot.
It's kind of an issue there.
Not really. I mean, when one car told us the layout of the neighborhood, then we realized that was the only person that wanted to exit. They told us they couldn't exit, so we just fixed it so anyone else could leave.
Right. But they were trying to come up to me to find out what was happening.
Objection,
Okay.
speculation, hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection. Let's take our afternoon break for the staff and the jurors. We're going to take a 15-minute stretch restroom break. Please remember the admonition.
The judge is like, look, I need a smoke break. Like stat. I don't even smoke. Someone get me a menthol now. It's going to be smoking like lolly at the end of this trial. Yeah, it is beyond interesting to watch her perception of the world. What she really gets, as much as I joke, I find it utterly fascinating that through her prism, the greatest things that were worrying her were, the pool party and what people were thinking. It gives you kind of a snapshot. It's so weird how people reveal themselves and their priorities in these little sort of idiosyncrasies that, as a people watcher, an inside cat, like, look, I don't people, but I find people fascinating as hell. So I love watching people, and it is so funny how she tells on herself, and she is so oblivious to the fact that normal people, people with souls and, not Satan, don't think the way she does. It's very interesting when you actually get them up there and they don't realize how mask off they are. It is so incredibly interesting to me. Her lawyer's like, shut up. Her lawyer helper. He's like, just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let the parking spots let it go.
You mentioned that you briefed the detectives. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you
And were you wearing your temple garments? And don't you know that you're not supposed to show those around? How dare thee? I will get you excommunicated and your temple recommend taken away. He's like, briefs don't mean that, ma'am.
tell them in that briefing?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustain.
Are his statements hearsay as well, Your Honor?
Any out-of-court statement is hearsay unless there's an exception or it's non-hearsay under the rules. So yes, his out-of-court statements are hearsay. Go ahead.
Judge, you better not be pulling a mommy judge like Daryl Brooks. Do not help this woman. As we said, in the Church of Mo, one of the commandments is, if a thunder cow is wallowing in their own stupidity and ignorance, we do not help them, because thunder cows do not accept help. They will be a-holes. They will not listen. So thunder cows can waller in their own ignorance, filth, and feces all they want without our help. It is not, I'm not saying turn the other cheek. I'm saying walk the hell away. Loudly shuffles papers.
But you did brief the detectives before you headed to the police station? Is that correct?
I did.
And who was there? Do you remember?
Well, there was you, there was Colonel Mustard.
Nate Moffat.
There was Miss Scarlett and you. And your weird brother. I'm going to call him your your brother friend, because ick. That relationship just gives me all the icks. Lori and Alex Cox, just ick, 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 ick. All the icks. Like that. Look, I have a texture problem, but those squishy toys that are made out of that weird silicone, all the icks. Ugh.
Cassie, I think my
Is that
sergeant.
Detective Inklin? I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you.
No.
Oh,
And just off recollection, I think there was another one, but off of recollection, I don't remember.
and that was about how long before you left to go to the police station?
Hey, Lori, just a little tip. This is where you would say, would it refresh your memory if I showed you a report? And then if you were a real lawyer, you would have said report. You'd be like, Your Honor, may I approach? And then he'd say, well, hell's yes, let's get approaching. And then you say, does this, take a look at this. And, when you're done, look up at me. Does that refresh your memory? Now, I'm not a lawyer, so there might be more steps. There are a gajillion and 12 lawyers on here who will tell you the exact steps. I'm not one, but I've observed enough of these trials. Lori, what the hell were you doing with your time? Obviously just praying and talking to Chad through your closet portal, but still, you should have taken just a scotch of time to even watch trial streams.
10 minutes, maybe?
And how long do you think you were speaking with them?
Under a minute.
Under a minute?
Yes.
Lori, it's a briefing. In said title is the explanation that it will be brief. It is not going to be a full, in-depth observation and interrogation of this case. No, they are basically giving them the bare bones so that they can transport your brother and yourself and your daughter back to the police station in order to get everyone's stories. That's what they do. Again, it's not going to be, with the murder board and we've got all the little red lines and everything. No, it's going to be very, very brief because it's still a dynamic scene. Even though it's not chaotic, there are still a lot of things that need to get done, documented, photographed, and, preserved in the correct way with the correct chain of custody. So they're not going to spend a whole, 25 minutes talking, chatting, and kikiing out there. And welcome, Baker Raiders.
Yes.
Judge is like, shoot me. The judge, if you've seen South Park with the turd sandwich and giant douche with the, person bird thing that's like, destroy me, kill. That's just a judge. Yes. Yes. Okay, so you guys, I am going to tangent off here for a minute, but during my daughter's graduation, they had a choir thing. They tried their damnedest. That is all. But I think it was supposed to be from Wicked. And the PA system was terrible. They had their gain up to like a gajillion and 12. Streamer, what video game is this? We are watching the Lori Vallow Daybell trial from Arizona, the most recent one that was finished. We are mainly just making fun of Lori. I have my Thunder Cow headband on because she is a Thunder Cow. No, they did play a lot of instruments, and now youngest most feral and second youngest most feral both want to play instruments. I can just see a Hema tuba if they get a tuba. I'm hoping one of them wants to play the xylophone or a triangle. Please, dear God. Okay, in my church, my cult, whatever you want to call it, recorders are absolutely blasphemous and will get you excommunicated. Look, I have 6 children. I am on number 5 with a dang recorder, and I'm about to lose my mind. If I hear another one, hot cross buns, do, 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 eat, do, 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 do. No. When I am president, all recorders will be destroyed and confiscated. They are terrible. They are audio assault weapons. Change my mind.
Today, Junior?
All right, you're going back to 1.25,
Did you
ma'am.
meet with the prosecutor to go over your testimony today?
I did.
When was that?
2 weeks ago, maybe?
How long did that meeting?
Put up the Hank signal. Did you meet with prosecutors? Where is Hank when you need him? He comes flying in like Professor Snape. I think that's Hank's problem. I think he's Professor Snape in his life somewhere. He loved Lily. He was an asshole. Lily, broke up with him. And then he continued to pine on about her forever to the point where he let her die but saved her son. I don't know. Kind of messed up. But still, good guy-ish. Good-ish guy.
Meeting last?
Probably around an hour total.
Oh, hell no. We are not bringing string instruments into this house. No, I will not. The screaming of the damned will not happen in my house. Lori, you have not even had
Did you
a
review
point
this report
entire
before you
time.
came to testify today as well?
I did.
And it was not part of your duty to check anything in the perimeter. You weren't looking for evidence. You were just dealing with the shooter. Is that correct?
Well, not just the shooter, but scene management, making sure the resources were en route. But yes, managed.
What all does that entail? Scene?
Yeah, but is that a hurdle you'd be proud to, sail over? Like, I'm smarter than Trooper Paul too, but I don't see that as accomplishment. I see that as the way I don't get blind looking at the bright, shiny thing in the sun, or I don't drown keeping my mouth open during the rain. I mean, these are not accomplishments. These are normal. That being said, for some, that is a hurdle of great import.
Management.
Well, once we knew there was not a threat out, I instructed Officer Wiz to set up an inner and outer perimeter with crime scene tape.
What else?
Make sure I had a supervisor en route, and then manage the people that walked up to the scene.
Who was that supervisor en route? Do you know?
Bill Nacella, my sergeant.
How many people do you think came up to you at that scene?
Well, not up to me, but I instructed one gentleman that was walking on the sidewalk towards us. He needed to just leave the area. This didn't concern him.
Look, if we're getting a drum set, then they have to practice every day until they become like Neil Peart or Pert, depending on how I'm supposed to say it, from Rush. I will expect nothing less but the absolute drum genius of Phil Collins and Neil Peart. Or Peart. Again, big fan of Rush, just never remember how to say his name. But still, if we got them to drums, 1 second. I do, if not the drums, then the guitar. Definitely think we need to start bringing back guitars. The 80s are coming back. One of them could have a guitar, one could have a saxophone. We can do this.
Him, and then you and your daughter walked up to me and I just asked you to go back to your car.
Come on, Lori, you can do it.
I did.
When was that?
At some point between me arriving on scene and me leaving the scene.
Closer to arriving or closer to leaving? Maybe.
Chocolate milkshake says about halftime.
Okay. How long?
What in the name of all that is Cheetos is this phraseology? Now I've heard, enough snow to track a cat. I've heard may the Canton be with you. But chocolate milkshake says about halftime. Is this a phrase in Arizona? Is this a what we'd like to call a colloquialism? I have never heard that in my entire life. But there you go. Now I want a milkshake. Damn it, sir. Now I want a milkshake, which means I have to go out of my house because I am not Uber eating a milkshake. The only time I have ever done Uber Eats, and I was so afraid I was going to cock it all up because it's me, and it was right after a ketamine infusion, so may the God be with us that we actually got the right food. So I have only Uber Eats once, and while it was a little bit convenient, it was still kind of, I felt very, very, dumb. Not to mention I had to walk out of my hotel room. And let me tell you, after a ketamine infusion, when you are, still just a scotch out of it, having to walk down a carpet that has the most god-awful blue paisley, like wave pattern, just absolutely ridiculous. That being said, I enjoyed the shake. It was the first shake I've never had to share with someone because I was in my own hotel room. Craziness at Dollywood, I might Uber Eats me something, get my own shake. I'm going to live wild and crazy and get my own fries. I'm not going to have to share with Dingus or the children. I know, y'all don't be peanut butter and jealous of my, glamorous life.
How long do you think that conversation was?
Well, you saw it on the body-worn camera, so a minute and a half maybe.
And he was just checking in with you to make sure everything was going well, that you were scene managing. Is that correct?
Objection, relevance. And hearsay.
Overruled, he can answer.
I was briefing him on what I knew thus far, what I was told.
And that was less than a minute?
Yeah.
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
He's a dude. I mean, again, he's a man on a mission. He has his job. He probably talked in bullet points. Again, briefing with the word brief in it means brief.
So it took less than a minute to brief him on everything that had happened that day so far?
Objection, asked and answered.
Now, if they were in a debrief, it would be an intense scrutinization of the past action. But that's not what this was. Oh, for the love of Cheetos, get this woman a dictionary, a thesaurus, and Sarah Boone.
And it took less than a minute to brief the detectives as well of what happened that day?
An objection, asked and answered.
I'll allow that one. Go ahead.
Not what happened, what my portion was and what I knew happened.
So what you wrote in your report, basically, what you were told. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it took you 3 pages to write what you were told, but it took you less than a minute to discuss that with the detectives. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, someone's getting Princess Snippy. Okay. Fair point.
How long was that transport from the residence to the Chandler Police Department?
In miles, probably 8 miles, 10 miles maybe.
How long do you think that took around?
10 to 15 minutes maybe.
And then
Lori,
where
for
did
the
you enter into the police station? Is there a garage or something?
I don't
Please say Sallyport. Please say Sallyport. Come on, Sallyport.
recollect where I parked. There's various areas you can park at the police department to access the area that I access, so I'm unable to answer. I don't know where I parked.
Okay, and you were able to walk Alex into the police station, is that correct?
Yes,
And he was unhandcuffed, is that correct?
correct.
And then you took him into an interrogation room, is that correct?
Yes,
And then Detective Moffat took over?
yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear. Okay. Did your supervisor, Nacella, did he come to the police station as well?
Not with me, nor did I talk to him. He might have, but I don't know.
You didn't see him there?
Correct.
Okay. But you saw Detective Moffat there?
Yes.
And you saw Detective Inkland there?
I don't remember Inkland. I just remember Moffat relieved me.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Redirect.
Oh, thank you, Tiny T. How will the state recover from this "you didn't let me park and you didn't let other people park" interrogation of this officer? How will the state recover?
At the beginning of cross-examination, you were asked about Alex Cox's demeanor. Do you recall that?
I do?
And you had advised that he was nonchalant and calm, right?
Yes.
And you were
Please say he was demure. Also, question for anyone who's on TikTok and can explain things to a semi-boomer / hoping to become fully, technically available. But why is it all the women that are telling me to be demure are showing more of their boobage than, well, Jezebel? I don't understand it. They got more makeup on than the MAC counter at Sephora, and they got their boobs pressed up to here and there and yonder. And they're like, we need to be more demure. I'm like, I don't think you keep saying this word, but I don't think you understand what it means. That being said, not my monkey, not my circus, not my problems, but I still pay a ticket to watch the train wreck.
You were asked whether or not you were nonchalant and calm too, correct?
Yes.
Had you just shot someone?
No.
You were asked if the firefighters were calm and nonchalant. Had they just shot someone?
As far as I know, no.
How about Officer Witt?
I didn't have this on my bucket list. The prosecutor asking a police person if they had shot someone, and that's why they were chalant or nonchalant or dechalant or ochalant. I don't know. I'm going to have to see how many chalants we have.
Wiz, you said he was nonchalant and calm too. Had he just shot anyone?
No.
So it's not really exactly the same to compare you to the shooter, right?
Correct. I would not compare us.
When you went up to the scene, you had your gun drawn on him, correct?
Yes.
Still nonchalant and calm?
Yes.
You were asked a lot also about your nonchalance.
Okay, so Legendary Racing, Lori Vallow as a prosecutor versus Daryl Brooks as a pro se defendant. Who do you have your money on? Well, this is going to be a weird bet. I would put money on the side bet that Lori is going to flirt with Daryl Brooks. I have a side bet that Daryl Brooks is going to piss off Lori and she's going to get snippy. And then who would win? Well, let's be real. As dumb and stupid as she is, Lori still has a fully functional frontal cortex, allegedly. I'm putting my money on Lori. But I'm also, yeah. Probably. Although Daryl's the one that's had the most relations lately. Again, if you didn't know this and you needed it to brighten up your day, normally we do not rejoice in the pain of others, but Daryl Brooks apparently got visited by many people in his cell, and he, well, he got pretty messed up.
Nonchalant and calm appearance today in court. Are you stressed or just answering questions to the best of your knowledge?
The latter, just answering questions to the best of my knowledge.
You had to testify before?
I have.
Thank you, Sue.
You were asked about the injury to Alex Cox. We have seen the body-worn camera footage, and we cut it off at some point. When Mr. Cox first came out of the house, he did not have his hand to his head, correct?
Correct.
You told us you didn't notice an injury at that point?
Correct.
When he first sat down on the curb before you moved him, did you notice an injury at that point?
I did not.
Was he touching his head at that point?
Recollection, I don't remember.
At some point in the video that we watched, did we see Alex Cox touch his head?
Yes.
When you were watching him, did you at times see him rubbing his head?
Yes.
Now, just for those of you who don't get hematubas, Karen Reed trial, shout out. A lot, when you get a pretty good goose egg on your head, you generally don't rub on it because it's kind of painful. Well, so May the 4th, actually I was talking and Northwest was saying that, on the other hand, if we look at this perspective, you can't charge people just because a situation seems hinky. You have to get all the evidence. You have to, disprove them. And on the day of the crime, even though it looked hinky, even though it looked sus, because of the justice system that we have, they had to wait for evidence. So Northwest was kind of putting out the timeline. So they had the interviews with all three of them that were corroborating each other that this was self-defense. They did take the phones, but by the time the phone Cellbrite, or Magnet, or whatever the hell they used, came back, it was found out that the kids were missing and Idaho was taking the more emergent case. And yeah, I mean, I think they took a photo of Alex's boo-boo, and let me tell you, my youngest, most feral, does a better job acting injured. Yeah, it does make you wonder, if they could have found things and, prevented them. But let's be real. I mean, sadly, and the biggest, one of the biggest victims in this story is Charles Vallow, who was telling everybody and their mom and them that Lori was crazy. But because her family enabled her, because she was gifted with, hee, and, people pleasing and a pleasant looking figure, sort of, and a face that didn't look like Hatchet Face from Crybaby until recently, people let her pass. And it's really easy to Monday morning quarterback, or whatever day you're supposed to quarterback that isn't the quarterback day, and say, oh, well, they should have caught this and this, and then this would have been prevented. I think it's really, really hard to look at Lori, and even if she was in a crazy cult, to take that incredibly tragic and insane leap that she's going to unalive her children. So, and Northwest is saying that Arizona case law is very shooter friendly when self-defense is claimed. And she also is very manipulative. She has been able to manipulate people, mostly men, throughout her entire life. If you notice, she was doing the sort of flirty, light voice, pleasant kind of thing. This is all the crazy. It is 20 pounds of crazy in a 2-pound sack.
The towel or paper towel or whatever that was in his hand, was that the only item you ever saw him using to rub or touch his head?
Yes.
Was it soaked or saturated in blood?
No.
Can we see it on the body cam that it's mostly white?
Yes.
So if we want to really know how long it was that he was seated before he touched his head, we could watch the time on a body cam, right?
Yes.
Also, note to Lori, for your next plot, head injuries tend to bleed a lot. When my youngest, most feral, knocked out his second front tooth and bisected his lip, it bled like a stuck pig. And I shouldn't have had 6 kids, but I tend to faint at the sight of blood. Not to mention he kept playing once they gave him the medicine to sort of be able to get him to get stitches. He kept playing with his floppy lip flaps, and I was like, God, thank you, Jesus, they let me sit down, because I was not going to be standing up for that. And of course, you're the mom, so you're supposed to be holding their hand and not clammy and sick yourself. So I'm over here doing like Lamaze breathing to stay with it for my son as they're stitching his lip, and trying to be his strong hero mom and not pass out, when I was just like, Lord Jesus, don't let me look at the needle. Okay, thank you, baby Jesus. Okay, it's going to be okay, babe. It's going to be okay. Honestly, why I went into the surgical tech field, I don't know, but God saved me from that by having me drop out of college.
You were asked if you met with the prosecutor previously. When we met, did you have to watch that entire body cam?
Yes.
And is that when you actually initialed it, exhibit number 1 there, so that you would recognize it in court?
Yes.
You were asked about when you arrived and when you later transported Alex Cox to the precinct. Would looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when you had at least taken him to the precinct?
Yes.
If I could have my paralegal bring up the CAD report.
Go ahead.
So I do like how they're having the paralegal bring things up. It doesn't put attention to the fact that the state can do it and Lori can't. So as much as this judge has looked like he would like to become the next Ben Affleck for that over at meme, he has been thoughtful on how he addresses sort of, the logistics of having a defendant who is currently incarcerated and pro se.
At the precinct with Alex Cox.
It does.
And when was that?
9:18 and 19 seconds.
Miss Disorder, I'm cool as a cucumber in situations like that. Get help, do first aid, but when it's my kid, I'm a gibbering mess and call my mom. It's not an epic fail. It's just, it's easy to kind of be more clinical with someone who's not your own child. When it's your own child, it's hard. Look, with boys, I've had more visits to the ER than I ever imagined. I'm surprised I don't have my own parking space. But I think however you mom, and yet, do you still take care of your baby? Do you still get everything done? Then that's a good mom. And then Kiwi Green says the story from Lori's cousin going to visit Lori and her family in California when she was a kid. Lori basically, took her out to gentlemen so that Lori, could be with a guy she wanted. Yeah. Oh, and apparently this is coming from the cousin. I haven't checked this out. If it's coming from her, then it's gross. I will say that Lori has struck me as someone who is very used to getting her own way, especially with men. I think she learned how to use her body. She's very much like Diane Downs. If you've ever looked at the Diane Downs case, I'm guessing, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm guessing you would notice the sort of similar pattern of behavior From Diane Downs in childhood to Lori Vallow. Again, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm sure there are people that, actually know what Rorschach tests are supposed to show you. And if Freud really wanted to sleep with his mom, who can tell you a whole bunch about why Lori is the way she is. I'm just going with crazy.
And so the 911 call was at 8:36 a.m.?
That's when I received it. It could have come into the dispatch a few minutes earlier.
And you said you arrived, and we saw you on the body cam right after Officer Where's Biggie, who got there around 8:41?
Yes.
So you were with Alex Cox at the scene and talking to Lori Vallow and her daughter and doing those briefings in that 20, 30 minutes?
Yes.
No other questions, Your Honor?
All right, I see at least one juror question in a bin. If there are any juror questions, please pass them down at this time.
And apparently Arizona is one of the states where the jury gets to ask questions. So this will be interesting as the trial goes along when I'm able to piece and, parcel my way through it. Either probably most likely after the Karen Reed. This was just sort of a fun, let's see what the hell Lori did kind of day. Lori and Alex were bizarre. His ex-wife talked about how Alex was possessive of Lori and the wife bounced within a year. Yeah, the very intense sort of love relationship with Lori and Alex has always given me the hibbity-jibbities. I'm like, ugh. Look, there's being close to your family and then there's being close to your family, and I think that line was crossed. Now, that's my speculation station opinion, so take it with a ramen noodle packet of salt. But there we go. I do believe that jury questions should be allowed everywhere. I sincerely wish they were allowed in Massachusetts. I would love to try to understand what the jury is thinking, what they're questioning, what they're, looking at. Because, Baker does try to get it from both sides, how the jury is looking, but it would be really interesting to get their questions. High tech. Ooh, that must be our silent sound. Or my earbuds are getting low, but I don't think so. Let me check. No, I'm at 60%. All right, we're gonna go past this boop. Oh, Lori, you could have done telemarketing. You look so good with a headset on your
Just
head.
one question, and I don't know if the pad will help you answer that. Do you know when you were finished with this call? What time it was when you were finished or released from this call and able to go back out?
It was probably 5 minutes after, maybe 10, probably 10 minutes. I probably used the restroom, to be honest with you, and got something to drink at the station, water. So maybe 10 or 15 minutes after the detective came in the room is when I hit the 10-8 button and I went and took other calls for service.
Okay, so you were done with this call before the end of your shift?
Oh, yes.
Okay, you didn't go back to the scene to help with scene security or anything like that?
No.
No other questions?
Did the defendant have any follow-up?
No, we're fine, Your Honor.
All right, this witness can step down. You want to hand me that? Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Moe gave me about 2 hours today, and then we were going to go take everything to Goodwill and do some Goodwill shopping. So, as always, you guys, thank you for spending your time with me. I appreciate it. I hope that you're having a great holiday. Please remember that the sacrifices that were made so we can all sit here and, well, I can sit here in cow ears and, you guys can hang out with me. So, take a moment, take a period of time and just reflect on the sacrifices that service members have made for us. And I am sending you over to Nick. He is watching Trooper Paul. So I don't see very many people else out there that are streaming, but if you want to get a look at Trooper Paul's former testimony, Then be ready for Dr. Welsher tomorrow. Have fun with that. As always, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. But have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because honestly, there are Loris all around that haven't been unmasked yet. Thunder cunts in the making. I'm 3 hours in, I can say it. Well, almost. Give me a break, YouTube. Bye, you guys.